got Super Buddy, it's got Jim, and again enjoyed by Jason the Old Millennial. Well, this time it's called Jason the Sky with Diamonds,
Yeah.
and I'm Jim the Walrus.
Yeah.
And in this live stream, we're discussing who our favourite Beatle is. And we got 6 categories in total, but it wasn't an easy task for either of us. And I want to give a big thanks to my dad for suggesting this one. And this is the first installment of the What Was Jim podcast, which is something I made up. And that's where we discuss anything movie or music related or TV or video games. And in this one we're discussing about who our favourite Beatle is. And you can let us know who your favourite Beatle is in chat or the comment section below. But how are you, Jason?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, exciting. I'm excited to watch John Wick later tonight. So
yeah, I just saw it today and loved it.
Yeah.
I'll be doing a review on that Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited to do that. But I've got Jason's channel in the description below. Please go ahead and subscribe to him. He's currently got he's ranking his favourite Beatles songs and going through his top 100 albums. He also ranking the Pixar films as well.
Yeah.
I'm ranking them along with you. I think you're in your top 10 now almost.
Yeah, I got 11 left. Yeah.
Very cool. But I've already got some question here from StreamYard. Hello, StreamYard. That I'm just joking. There's no question there.
I was like, what? StreamYard.
But whenever you're ready, Jason, we can talk about the first round.
All right.
Yeah, let's do it. So our first round is going to be the lyrics.
That's going to be lyrics.
And I'll let you go first, Jason, to discuss about this round.
So I'm going to talk about each Beatle and then give them a rank, or not rank, but out of 5.
Yeah. And the overall winners out of 25.
Yeah. So, lyrics. Obviously, Lennon McCartney, the great lyricist of all time. I mean, as far as pop music goes, pop rock music. So, I mean, I couldn't give Paul or John anything less than a 5. I mean, come on. They are both just the greatest of all time. I mean, Paul written one of my favorite songs like Yesterday, Let It Be, Hey Jude. I mean, Eleanor Rigby. I mean, he even like She's Leaving Home. He can tell a really cool story through the song, and I just love that about him. He's really good at that. And John, I mean, again, in My Life, A Day in the Life, absolutely amazing. Again, kind of tells a little bit of a story, somewhat in some of those songs, or yeah, I'm trying to think. There's, I mean, so many. I mean, Across the Universe. Even I'm the Walrus is off the wall, but yet I like the lyrics because it's so off the wall.
Tomorrow Never Knows.
Tomorrow Never Knows. Yeah, he can write these off the wall lyrics, and it just fits really well. I mean, I'm Only Sleeping. It's so great. It's just about a guy who doesn't want to get up out of bed, and I'm like, I feel that guy. I am that guy.
Yeah, I can relate to that guy.
I relate to that guy, so I'm like, he totally nails it. But yeah, so yeah, I give both John and Paul 5 out of 5. I mean, how can you not? I give George a 4 out of 5 on that list because he's just a little below John and Paul as far as lyrics, just because he didn't write as many songs. Of course, he wasn't given the opportunity quite as much, just because Lennon and McCartney, that was the golden goose that George Martin just fed. It was like, 80% of all the songs have to be a Lennon McCartney songs because they were putting out number one after number one. Every song, every single was like a number one. So it's like, how can you not have Lennon and McCartney just keep writing? So Harrison was kind of had to work hard. He was kind of behind from the beginning because he had nobody to write with. And he was just kind of learning on his own, it seemed like. I mean, he was learning from probably Lennon and McCartney, but he really had to, fight hard to get his songs out there, it felt like. And once He did. He turned out to be really good as well. I mean, while my guitar gently weeps is one of the best songs written, I think, out of the Beatles. It's amazing, And then of course here comes Sun, something. Even Taxman. I love the lyrics of Taxman. It's kind of a funny song, but I love how he does that song. Anyways, so I put him at a 4 out of 5, and then Ringo. I mean, no offense, but Ringo, I put a 1 just because he only wrote 2 songs, and they're not anything brilliant lyrically, but he just wasn't a songwriter though, so I don't hold that against him. It's just that's where he was. But yeah, so I give him a 1 out of 5.
So you got John and Paul as your favourite for that one. But yeah, can't argue with that. Yeah, I've gone with John. I've gone with a 5, and my favourite Beatles song for his lyrics is In My Life. And I've got a few of the lyrics here. There are places I remember all my life. There's some have changed. Some forever not proper better. Some are gone, some are rain. All these places at the moment, there was some friends. I still recover goals of the dance of living. In my life, I've loved them all. It's one of my favourite Beatles songs, that one.
Yeah.
For Paul, and nearly gave him a 5, but I gave him a 4.5.
Okay.
I think it's just, I think there's just a couple of songs that I think just weigh it down slightly. Probably the fact it's got Yellow Submarine, but I think John was involved in that one almost equally. But yeah, I didn't want to give them both the same score.
Okay.
So yeah, had to find some sort of nitpick somewhere. But it's very, very hard to. And my favourite song lyrics for him is Let It Be. And I've gone with the line of when the broken-hearted people living in the world agree, there'll be an answer, let it be. Although they may be parted, there's still a chance that they will see. There'll be an answer, let it be. And for George, I gave him a 3.5. And my favourite song with lyrics of him is One Guitar, Gently Weeps.
Yeah.
I think if he continued how it was in the Abbey Road album, I think he probably would be a 4. But I think it took a few years for him to get to be really, really good songwriter. I'd say it's probably started with the Help album with I Need You.
Yeah.
And the lyrics with One Guitar Gently Weeps were going with I look at the world and I notice it's turning. One guitar gently weeps. With every mistake we must surely be learning. Still my guitar gently weeps. It's a great line, that one. And for Ringo, I put it slightly above where you put it. I gave him a 1.5.
Okay.
Mainly because the reason why I gave him an extra 0.5 than you did is because he came up with the song titles for A Hard Day's Night and Tomorrow Never Knows.
Yeah.
I do really like the songs that he wrote, mainly Octopus's Garden, which is my favourite song of his that he wrote. For the Beatles, that is. And they've gone with the line, We Would Be Warm, below the storm, a little hide away beneath the waves, resting our head on the seabed, in Octopus's Garden near a cave. And if you look at all those points, the winner for that round is John Lennon. And my favourite Beatles song in terms of lyrics is In My Life.
Yeah.
So that's the end of round 1. And we've got a few things going on in the chats. Let's take a look. We've got Brian. Hello, Brian. And we've got True Stars of the Dales. Evening, lovely people. Hello. And so me and the wife saw John Wick today.
Okay.
We liked it a lot too. I was tempted to bring my mum to watch John Wick. She was tempted to come, but I think she made the right choice not coming. A bit too violent for her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we'll now go on to round 2, which is the Melodies. So there we go. But we'll
Man. All right. I mean, I guess I'm gonna be a broken record on most of these rankings because they're all pretty similar. 'Cause I have a hard time, especially between Paul and John. They're so good. So I gave Paul and John both 5s on this as well. Paul, yeah, like I don't know, I don't have much more to say. It's like the lyrics. He just wrote some of the most beautiful melodies, like I said yesterday, Let It Be, Hey Jude. I mean, You know, anything here, there, and everywhere. I mean, I'm thinking the piano melodies. I love the piano melodies, obviously. And
You never give me your money
yeah,
for the start. Well, that's the first half of that song.
yeah, that's good. Yeah. I mean, almost everything he does is pretty good. Yeah, he wrote some of the most beautiful melodies, of course, those great songs. And even John, again, In My Life is, like I said, it's one of my favorite songs that he ever. And Day in the Life, absolutely fantastic. Love Across the Universe. Even Julia is such a beautiful song. He's proved himself that he could write really great melodies. Besides being a really good rock, he's really good at the rock songs. But then I feel like Paul was known more for the more ballad melodies,
Yeah.
and John was known more for maybe more of the harder rock songs, somewhat. But oh yeah, Strawberry Fields Forever is another one. I mean, it's just
So many.
he would come up with these great ones like that, and you go, well, he could do ballads too if he wanted to. I mean, and he did at times, but yeah, I can't say they're both just amazing at it. And again, I gave George Harrison a 4 because Something and Here Comes the Sun is some of the most beautiful songs ever written. Something, definitely, it's one of the greats. Love the guitar on that. Yeah, it's just they're all just really great. And then Ringo, I gave a 1 because he just wrote 2 songs, so I couldn't say much about. He wasn't just a great songwriter or melody writer.
Fair enough. For me, I've gone with John as a 4.5 out of 5, mainly because of Revolution 9.
Yeah.
There's a few other Beatles songs that he wrote, not the biggest. Well, that had the melody that I wasn't the biggest fan of, but my favourite Beatles song for him in terms of melody is In My Life. And for Paul, I've given him a 5. And my favourite melody of his is Golden Summer's Carried Away in the End. But in case that's cheating, then I'll go with Yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Then for George, I give him a 3.5. And my favourite melody for him is Something.
Yeah.
But I think it's the fact that I'm not the biggest fan of the cover songs he sang.
Yeah.
In the first couple of years of him being in the band, really. And Ringo, I gave him a 1.5. Favorite melody for him is Octopus's Garden. I was tempted to give him a 1, but I'll give him an extra 0.5 because of his drumming. I think helps some of the melodies out. So yeah, that's what I've gone with for round 2. But we'll see what's going on in the chat. True Captain Stars and Dale said it knackered her out, so that's good for me. Just sleep at the sofa.
All right.
I got a whiskey and I was looking for a stream, and you guys are live bringing stuff.
Yep.
Very cool. So the Beatles, great band, talented lads. Yeah, they definitely are. Yeah, our favorite band of all time.
Oh yeah.
They're in their own different league, I would say. Now we'll go on to round 3, which is the personality.
All right. Personality, this was the hardest one to really, I didn't know what to do
Yeah,
with it.
I agree, it's probably the hardest one.
I kept going back and forth, like, how do I rank these personalities? I don't know. I didn't know what to do. So I gave them all 5s because I love all 4 Beatles so much. And I don't know if that's the wrong thing to do, but I didn't know what to do. So I was like, who do I like better? And I looked at them all. I was like, I like all 4 of them so much. And it's hard to say, what do you mean by personality exactly? I mean, like when I thought about John, I think John I loved because he was the most outgoing, I think, out of the Beatles somewhat. He was really good at hamming it up in front of cameras. He always did kind of physical comedy. He was always doing facial expressions. You know, he seemed like he was always performing when he was in front of the camera.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. I mean, so he do a lot of more of the physical funny bits, I felt like. And he was a bit of a wild card. He was the guy that would always say something controversial because I don't think he always thought before he said something. which made him interesting. Anyways, uh, Paul I always felt like he was the most polished of the four when it came to doing interviews and stuff. I feel like he really kind of thought out what he was going to say, and he kind of made sure he didn't say anything controversial. And he's kind of the guy who had to reel back John. Like when John said something, sometimes Paul had to cut in and be like, try to save John from saying something. And I don't know, he was always really good at that. And he was also funny, though. He can also be funny, but yet somehow more professional like, I think, in some senses. I mean, I know Paul was maybe more the control freak out of the group, but you kind of needed Paul to be that way to keep the group together. I always felt like Paul kept that group together for as long as he could, because of that. George is interesting because he's considered the quiet Beatle of the group, because I don't think he maybe talked as much as the other three, maybe, or wasn't as outgoing, but he still was very funny. And sometimes he was a guy that was very quiet, but then he'll say one thing that would be just so funny that it would just crack everybody up. And I don't know. So there's something very witty about him that I really liked, and very smart about him. I feel like he was always kind of the finance guy that was always a business kind of oriented guy who was always thinking about, hey, I'm getting taxed too much, so I'm gonna write a song about the tax man. Only George thought about that kind of stuff. And he wrote Northern Songs because he was upset about Northern Songs had like the rights to their music, I believe. And so he wrote just a song kind of bad mouthing Northern Songs kind of, or something, or kind of, in some, because he was unhappy with Northern Songs like getting so much money and he wasn't getting. Anyway, so there's something interesting about George in that way, that he thought more about that kind of stuff and showed it in his songs. And then Ringo, to me, what I like about Ringo is he was the guy that felt like he got along with everybody. John and Paul were fighting quite a bit. Paul and George fought quite a bit. There's definitely some scuffles there, but I always feel like Ringo, nobody really fought with Ringo, because Ringo was just like, Ringo just wanted to drum. He just wanted to be in the background drumming. He loved drumming. He didn't really have aspirations necessarily to be a great songwriter or singer. While the other three were fighting over like who was going to write and sing and stuff, he was like, I'm just going to drum. And he was just the one guy who just got along with everybody. And I don't know. So I had to give him, I don't know. I couldn't say there's one better than the other. They all are really great to me.
Yeah. Well, John I gave a 4.5. Like I said about the controversial stuff, I think sometimes he needs to think before he speaks. And with Paul, I also gave him a 4.5. For some reason, I don't know why I didn't put a 5 for this round. I don't know really. But for George and Ringo, I gave them a 5.
Okay.
And for who I think the best personality is, I'll probably go with Ringo.
Yeah,
because I found it funny yesterday. He didn't mind being told what to do as well.
No, yeah.
He got on with most people, all four of them. He was a great team player. And
yeah.
It was easy to put yourself in his shoes, really.
Yeah.
But it's a very, very hard round. This is probably the hardest round.
Yeah, I mean, they did interviews. They were just so funny and interesting. When the four of them together, they made really great interviews, I thought.
Yeah. They're one of the best bands, I think, to interview.
Yeah.
The microphone's on the floor. I realise I haven't moved it up.
The microphone was on the floor the whole time.
I'm sure that's going to make a difference.
I'll have a drink as well while you're there.
Right. I can hear your voices in there.
So dinner.
Hi, Jason.
Hey.
Look, mum and dad are watching the live stream in the living room and they can hear it.
Yeah.
You can hear the
There's a bit of a delay, isn't there?
You shut the door.
I can see you in a minute. See this there.
Anyway.
Should we start over? No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, start all over. I guess we can now go on to round 4 then, which is the solo career and how successful that was / is.
All right, solo career is definitely where I start separating the four Beatles. And definitely, there's a big difference in the solo careers. John, I gave a 4 out of 5. I guess I didn't give point stuff. I just gave him a solid number. But John, he didn't quite get to the 5 just because obviously he only lived 10 more years after the Beatles broke up, unfortunately. So we never really got to see how much great stuff he could have done, if he was still alive today. But in those 10 years, I mean, you still have a lot of great songs that came out of his solo career. I think Plastic Ono Band and Imagine are 2 really great albums that he came out with. Imagine is one of my favorite albums of all time. I mean, that's definitely up there. And he's got stuff like Mind Games, Double Fantasy, we're also got some pretty good stuff in it. So he definitely still got some good stuff there. He just, unfortunately, his life was a little cut short, and that hurts. Unfortunately, that kind of hurts him a little bit. But Paul, I gave him 5 out of 5. He's my favorite solo artist of all time. I mean, coming out with McCartney and then Ram, Band on the Run. I mean, his work in the 70s is just absolutely amazing, I think. He's made some of the greatest albums. And then even getting into the 80s with Pipes of Peace, I love that album. And then the 90s, we both love Flaming Pie, I think is one of his best albums. And that came out in the 90s. And then in the 2000s, he's got Chaos and Creation in the Backyard and Memory Almost Full. I love those 2 albums. So obviously he's been playing for a long time. He's 80 years old or whatever. And he still came out with an album last year or whatever with McCartney 3. So, I mean, the way that he's been able to, even in his old age, still come out with great stuff. I mean, it's just unparalleled in my opinion of anybody else I've seen as far as career. So, I mean, yeah, he's just the greatest in my opinion. I give George Harrison a 3 out of 5. After the Beatles, I mean, he had the All Things Must Pass album was big, and I do like All Things Must Pass and My Sweet Lord and Isn't It a Pity, some really good songs there. I'm not as versed in in George as I am in John and Paul as far as the solo career. I've listened to some of the stuff, and he doesn't have nearly many hits, in my opinion. I mean, he's got stuff like Cracker Box Palace or something like that. It's a decent song. And Give Me Love, Give Me Peace, I think is a song that's pretty good, if I'm right. So he has some stuff there that are pretty decent. But I just never was real crazy about his solo career. Then Ringo, I don't know much about his solo careers. I gave him a 2, though, because I do like It Don't Come Easy and Photographs are 2 songs I really like. And he did some stuff. I know, like I'm the Greatest, I think, is one of his songs that I think John wrote for him. And I feel like he's got some other ones in there I'm forgetting the top of my mind that, are decent, but still, obviously, he's just not as good as a songwriter or singer. He just never was. But he's still has a solo career, which is still pretty incredible, I think.
Yeah. In his rally, actually changed a few of my ratings out of 5. What you were talking.
Really?
Yeah. For John, I originally had a 5, but then I thought about some of his weaker albums.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll give it a 4.5 for him. My favorite solo album is Imagine, but I think it's before the Plastic Ono Band album, or is it afterwards? There's a couple of albums around that time that I didn't really care for.
Yeah.
There's one called The Wedding Album.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a few albums like that I'm not the biggest fan of. So, for Paul, I'll give it a 5 though. I think because just how many decades of music he made albums.
Yeah.
For. Not all of them perfect, but I'd say he's still got a lot of fantastic songs and still a lot of fantastic albums. And he's still creating amazing music today.
Yeah.
And for George, I've given him a 4. My favourite Paul solo album is Ram. And my favourite George solo album is All Things Must Pass. And I've got a whole vinyl box set of all George Harrison studio albums.
Okay.
You've not heard of the studio albums, though.
If I have, I don't remember.
But he's also part of the Travelling Wilburys as well. I guess you could
Yeah,
say that part of George's solo career.
that's true. Yeah.
Ringo, I gave him a 3.
Okay.
Favorite solo album for him is Time Takes Time. He's got a pretty solid discography. I think one's a bit overlooked.
Yeah, I say you know more about Ringo than I do, but
And favorite solo Beatles album overall, could you go with All Things Must Pass, which is one of my favorite albums of all time. But you know, all 4 of those albums I mentioned with Imagine Ram, All Things Must Pass, and Time Takes Time, they're all in the top 25 albums.
yeah.
Have you heard Time Takes Time?
No.
I highly recommend listening to that one.
Yeah.
It's got Brian Wilson on that one as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and Jeff Lynne. It's quite a lot of famous people were involved in that album.
Yeah. I want to say George played on Imagine maybe, and Ringo played on Imagine album, and
yeah, George, he played the guitar. I think he gave me some truth.
yeah. So it's interesting how they collaborated quite a bit in the solo careers.
Yeah, I think on the Ringo self-titled album, I think all the Beatles are involved in it somewhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think John wrote one of the songs. I think Paul wrote one. George wrote a couple.
Yeah, I know George helped a lot with the writing of like
I think he wrote a lot of Ringo songs.
Photograph and It Don't Come Easy. I think George maybe co-wrote those or something.
Yeah, yeah, definitely co-wrote Photograph, I think.
Yeah.
But we'll now go over round 5, which is the overall winner. So the overall winner, overall talent.
Overall talent.
But this is probably just as hard as the 3rd round.
Yeah. Overall talent, John, I gave a 4 out of 5 on. Obviously, great singer, great songwriter, really good guitar player. I mean, he's a rhythm guitar player, but he would play solos too at times. And I know I've seen him on like lists of one of the great guitar players. So I think he definitely is up there as far as that. He didn't play a lot more instruments than the guitar. Mostly he was the acoustic electric guitar, occasional piano. But I think that he got better at that in his solo career, maybe. But obviously, yeah, just absolutely amazing at all that. Paul, I gave a 5 out of 5. I think he's the most talented musician I've ever seen or heard. Like I said, I saw him in concert one time, and I'm just so amazed watching Paul up there. He's an amazing bass player. I mean, one of the best bass players I think of all time. I mean, when you listen to songs like Come Together, Rain.
So many.
What's that?
This is so many.
Yeah. Paperback Writer. I mean, he's just Baby Drive My Car. I mean, his bass playing is just on another level, I think.
He's probably the best bass player.
Yeah, I would put him up top 5 best bass player in my opinion. But then he'll grab the acoustic guitar and he plays it Yesterday and Blackbird, and it's like, oh my gosh, and Calico Skies. I mean, it's just his acoustic guitar work is some of the best ever. I just love the way he plays acoustic guitar. And then he'll get the electric guitar out and he'll hit you some guitar solos, and you're like, wow, I didn't know he's so good at guitar solos. Because I always thought him as a bass player, and I'm like, holy cow, he's a good guitar player. And then he goes to the piano and he writes and he plays you some of the most amazing piano music with, like I said, Let It Be, Hey Jude. Yeah, so many. Maybe I'm Amazed, whatever. Just absolutely amazing piano player. And so I don't know. I've never seen somebody play so many different instruments and just be the greatest at all of them. Like, this guy's just the greatest at everything he does, in my opinion. But obviously, a great singer, great songwriter as well. I mean, just people put out like Prince, I think, as like maybe the greatest overall talent. And there's some other guys, but I always say Paul McCartney's the best overall talent I've ever seen in my life. George Harrison, I gave a 3. He was obviously an amazing guitar player. Of course, he played lead guitar, especially in the early days. He played pretty much all the guitar solos and so forth. I think, and I know Paul took over some guitar playing on some songs, like Eric Clapton came in for "While My Guitar Gently Weeps," but George still had like something. I think I loved the guitar playing on that, and he's obviously to me one of the top 5, like or top 10 greatest guitar players. I think you have to put him on the list. Anyways, he didn't play a lot more instruments than that, I would say. Obviously, I don't think he was as good of a singer as Paul and John, but he wasn't bad. He still could lead song. He could still be a good song leader, whatever. And as we said, he didn't write as many songs, but towards the end, like Abbey Road, he writes the 2 best songs of his career, and 2 of the best Beatles songs of all time, in my opinion, with "Here Comes the Sun" and "Something." I mean, so he had the ability to be on par with Lennon and McCartney at times as a songwriter, anyways. But he's just a little step below them, so I put him a 3 out of 5. And then Ringo Starr, I gave him a 2 out of 5. I don't mean to bash Ringo. It's just that he was a really good drummer, but that was really all he really was wanting to do. I mean, like I said, he could lead sing. He did lead singing on songs, and he just wasn't as good of a singer, I would say. And John and Paul would write him songs, and they would purposely write him songs that didn't have too difficult of vocals and didn't go too high or whatever, didn't hit big notes or something, which is fine. Ringo sounds fine, in Octopus's Garden, Little Help from My Friends, vocally he's fine. Some of his early stuff I'm not so crazy about, like Boys and Honey Don't. I think it's like vocally not great, but I don't know. That wasn't his thing. His thing was that he was a really good drummer, and he kept beating really well. He wasn't a flat drummer, but he was the perfect drummer for the band, and obviously, so I give him that credit. But so maybe I'm unappreciated of Ringo, but I gave him a 2.
Well, for me, I think you said, I'm not sure if you said a 4.5 for John, but I've gone with a 4.5 for John. For Paul, I've gone with a 5, and yeah, you're right. He's probably the best musician of all time. He's a multi-instrumentalist. He's fantastic at everything he plays. And then for George, I gave him a 4.
Okay.
I agree. He's probably in the top 10 best guitarists of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ringo, who's probably my favorite drummer of all time, and they're giving him a 3.5. It's mainly just because of how amazing his drumming work was. It really added to all the songs that he played drums on.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which Beatle it was who said that Ringo's not even the best drummer of the Beatles.
Yeah.
I think it was either John or Paul who said that.
Yeah, I don't think that was a serious thing, though. But
the winner, for that round, we'll go with Paul McCartney. And I guess we'll now go on to the overall winner. So who do you have as your overall winner then?
Paul McCartney got a perfect score. I gave him a 5 in every single category because I'm such a big fan of Paul McCartney. So he got 25. That 25 for me. I don't know if I'm just too big of a Paul fan and I overlooked some flaws maybe, but I don't know what to say. This Paul is just almost perfect to me. You want me to go through the other ones?
Well, we can go through. Yeah, we'll go through one at a time.
Okay,
and my overall one is Paul McCartney, and I've given him a 24 out of 25.
Okay.
The highest out of these. You can now go with your second. With you, who came second for you?
Yeah, so John, of course, was second. It's pretty hard between Paul and John. They both were so instrumental to the band. I mean, John started the band, obviously, and I feel like in the later years, Paul kind of took over as somewhat of the leader of the band. But it's always John and Paul were the leaders of this band, and John got 23 out of 25 for me.
I agree. Yeah, I'll go on 23 as well.
Okay.
And then, yeah, I'm assuming the next one's George for you.
George got 19 out of 25, so he's still up there. I think he's still great. He still did a lot of great stuff. It was hard when you're behind the two greatest of all time. I mean, what can you do? But
I'm giving him a 20.
20. Okay, so we're close.
And then for Ringo, what did you give Ringo out of 25?
He got 11 out of 25. I know he got a pretty low score. It's just, I'm sorry, he just was not. He was a great drummer, but he just couldn't compare to the other three as far as singing and songwriting. It's just that just wasn't his thing. So it's not a bad thing for Ringo. It's just, not everybody can be John or Paul. Somebody has to be kind of towards the bottom, I guess. So yeah, I don't know if that's a real low score, but I'm afraid I gave him 11.
I gave him a 14.5.
14?
14.5.
14.
So a little bit higher than you.
Yeah, I think you like him a little more, probably.
Yeah. And
Which
the
fine.
horrible winner, we both got Paul McCartney.
Yeah. It's hard. You could say John, and I can understand it because John was great. I still, anytime someone asks me, it's just like, it's almost unfair because Paul McCartney got to live so much longer, and that really helps in that, I think. But
There were a few things going in the chat. There was quite a lot of things, actually.
okay.
Trying to see what we got up to. Garrett said it's Paul for him.
Okay.
Hello, Garrett. Right. So it for what?
It was.
Right. It's Paul for me technically, but always have a soft spot for Ringo.
Yeah, sure.
Very cool. And it's George 2 and Ringo's all 4. So we'll go with it. Yeah. I'll say all 4, but at the moment this is what our ranking is. I'll still say I love all 4 equally though.
Yeah, they all 4 played a great part in a great band. I mean,
they are the GOATs, the greatest of all time.
Yeah, it's like if you talk about like basketball, not everybody can be Michael Jordan. You have to have other guys that support Michael Jordan, and Ringo and George were great at that, I think. So it's not to knock them at all. They're all great.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was great to discuss this with you.
Yeah, I hope we made sense and that was informative.
Yeah. And if you're not subscribed to Jason, whoever's watching, his channel's in the description below. That was it for the first installment of the What the Gym podcast. Even though it's not really a podcast, it's a fictional one.
Yeah.
But I guess now that we've done the live stream, I guess we can just conclude it now. So do you have any final words, Jason?
No, this, like I said, yeah, the Beatles are so great. It's interesting trying to analyze the greatest band of all time. And there's no wrong answers, I would say, but I think it seems like a majority of people are saying Paul, so I think we're all kind of in agreement.
Yeah. But yeah, it was great to have you on again, Jason.
Thank you.
Having you on again soon.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we got ideas, I think.
Yeah, we got a few ideas. I wouldn't mind doing a quiz on my channel at some point.
Oh yeah.
I'll definitely invite you for that. I know you're a big quiz fan.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for watching, everyone. Till next time, peace and love, and ciao.
Bye.
Bye-bye.